Yes, we are. All right. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Hizzy Hustle, where we are taking deep dives into economics. We're doing real estate. We're doing... God, I feel like a freaking news broadcaster at this point because I'm telling you, I don't normally cover this much... well, I don't want to say it's political because this is super economically driven, and with very much a lot of interest and focus. Sorry, once again, still getting new at this whole commentary live broadcasting thing, but with all the focus that we have on the housing market and how it performs in economic uncertainty, all of this stuff is super important. So here we are again, covering yet another update on the Trump tariffs. This morning, we found out that Mexico was sending 10,000 troops to the border and got a 1 month stall on those tariffs. And it sounds like the conversation with Trudeau and Trump went quite well, as we might have the same thing going on.
Okay, so the actual headline here is that Canada has also secured a pause on the tariffs for 30 days. And this is in a...
This is good. This is very good news. And if anybody bought stocks this morning, might have a good outcome by the end of the day.
A post on X by the Prime Minister. If I could just have the liberty to read it to everyone.
Absolutely.
So that they can see the background. He says, I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with...
We already had that in place before this thing even happened. Ugh.
New choppers, technology and personnel, enhanced coordination with our American partners, and...
Sorry, I thought Trump said this. My bad.
Increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. Now, here's where the new stuff comes in. Oh, there, you've got it up. Great. In addition, Canada is making new...
A fentanyl czar. We're getting a fentanyl czar after 9 years. This is crazy. What is going on?
Commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. We will list cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border, launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. I've also signed a new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl, and we will be backing it with $200 million. Proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together. So that...
Holy, can I... that nobody is following, get a W in the chat, because that is fantastic. It's so ridiculous that we had to wait for the president to push our government to do something like that, but this is a great thing. If you take everything out of the situation and just focus on what is happening here, this is a good thing for us. This is a good thing for Canada. Our security, our sovereignty, our... even just our reputation, like, and just not even just the fact that you're doing it for other people or for us, how we look in the world stage to make it seem like we're not so weak. It feels like this is a choice that the government has made that is for Canadians and only for Canadians. Obviously, it's with the push of the administration in the U.S. and it's because they're making us do it. But a lot of people are going to be really happy with this type of thing.
That is the news. Obviously, this is just breaking. This is just coming in. But the call at 3 p.m. between the president and the prime minister has clearly resulted in a deal, much like the one we have been reporting on with Mexico, to hold off on the tariffs for 30 days.
Good.
I guess to see how this actually gets executed and whether it's enough to satisfy Donald Trump to permanently decide not to hold tariffs, what would be very punishing and damaging tariffs to our economy, but also the U.S. economy.
Okay, so the other thing to take into consideration is, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a trade war with the States where our economy suffers, or would you rather have a temporary suffering where we spend the money and invest in our own country and then end up coming out on top because we have a better alliance and we have a better military and we have a better border and we have a better country as a whole. So instead of hindering us with inflationary things and, you know, potentially, like I saw, I don't even, somewhere from Twitter or something like that where it was announced that the Bank of Canada was talking about potentially lowering, it was a colleague of mine in the real estate space, potentially lowering the bank's overnight policy rate to 1.5 again. And that would be 6.25 drops, or 0.25% drops, 6 of them over the course of the year, and bringing us right back into where we were in the COVID times. And I mean, sure, that might have some really good effects on the housing market, but not the good effects that you want. Like as a realtor, sure, things might be good and you might pick up some business and whatnot, but as a Canadian and as a homeowner, I feel like it's going to really, really, really hurt all those people that aren't in a position to be able to capitalize on these low interest rates and stuff like that. So all in all, this is a great update, and this is a great direction that I think we're going. 1 month, it's not very long, it's still speculative, but we're moving in the right direction. And I think the most important thing is to just ensure that we are focusing on the facts that the trade deficit, if you look at it on paper, sure, it's a deficit that we run with the United States. But the benefits that you get from being our trade partner is so much better, because not only are you able to get certain things that we supply at a discount, you're also able to probably make more money off of it. I would expect that your profit margins on the things that you import from us are probably higher than what the deficit would. You know what I mean? Like if you took everything into account, I am sure that the United States is not being taken advantage of Canada. We don't have that ability. We're here to assist and supplement. And with Canada's ability to supply so many good natural resources and even just the landscape of where we're at, we hold the ability to give a fantastic foundation for the U.S. economy, right? So, you know, if they want to cut us completely out and try to build that foundation themselves, then I understand that's their prerogative. They're totally okay to do that. But it's just in this current landscape and how they're playing these policies out, it feels like it's going to do so much more damage to everybody because the infrastructure on either sides isn't in place, right? Like if we're talking 5-10 years from now that you want to be sovereign, then that gives Canada the opportunity to build its pipelines. It allows the states to get, you know, their drilling and their pipelines and all the stuff that they're looking to do to make their energy more plentiful, stuff like that. So, you know, there's a lot of ways that I think that both sides of the border can move to still get what they want in a way that's beneficial for both sides, right? Like, I don't think we need to do this puffing your chest out and trying to beat the crap out of everybody once again. Still learning. But yeah, no, I'm really happy about this announcement. I've been, not gonna lie, I've been stressing all day.
Economy beyond those 30 days. So that is just coming in right now. And there will be a meeting, as we know, we've been reporting, between the Canada-U.S. Cabinet Committee of the government, who will obviously be talking about this. And perhaps we will get further information, especially about these new measures being announced by the Prime Minister, about how they will work.
Karina, I mean, this is just an unbelievable day, right? I mean, you have a 9 o'clock call. Let's just kind of go back and let's talk about the day. The 9 o'clock call with the Prime Minister as well.
I've been covering this all day long. And yeah, let's just say I'm happy, not so happy that our industry is very much seasonal, so that I actually have the ability to take some time to cover this today. But yeah, what a crazy thing.
Well, the U.S. president talking with the Mexican president, announcing that to the Mexican president there would be this 1 month reprieve, and then a 3 o'clock call. And it's sort of, the day kind of, it just wasn't sure. We got some alerts about how the U.S. Border Patrol was getting ready to kind of, go through the list, and then all of a sudden, bam.
Absolutely. And this does seem to be sort of the new reality, the new normal with the Trump administration.
But I want to also say that this shouldn't be the new normal. This should have never been the new normal. Our relaxed take on immigration and stuff like that, and I totally understand where people are coming from, but if you just take a step back and look at it objectively, like, we as a country, we're not doing any good for our citizens, and I think a lot of people were starting to feel that way. I personally think this is actually very much going to help the Liberals kind of change a little bit of their party's opinions about, or the public perception about, what their party has kind of been doing over the last few years. For those who are conservatives who very much want Pierre to win the next election, not necessarily a good thing, but as, like, if you can agree to be nonpartisan about this topic as a net whole for Canada, this is a good thing. Whether you're a Liberal, whether you're NDP, or whether you're conservative, it doesn't matter. This is a good thing for Canada, and I think we can all agree on that. It just, you obviously, if you're a conservative, you don't want Trudeau to get the credit for it. You want Pierre and his speech that he gave today to get the credit for it. But unfortunately, it's the landscape that we're in right now. Liberals are in power. Liberals will maintain power most likely until October, and then Canadians will decide at that point who they want to run. But for the next 5 weeks, there's nothing that we can say or do about it. Trudeau is our boy, and he's handling it properly, at least. They definitely had a good game plan. I'm impressed. I wasn't very happy with just a immediate blanket tariff response or whatever, especially with them not being able to get in contact with Trump or anything like that. It kind of seemed very we're Canada and we're not going to take it type of thing. Trump's a bully, that type of dialogue. I hated them just keep on pushing that. So to hear that this is kind of, we're going to work with you guys and we're going to make this happen, makes me really, really happy. So
there is a lot of unpredictability, both in terms of what will be said and what will be done and what will come of it. So it's interesting, too, that the money attached to this, $200 million to these new measures, or the intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl, and backing that with $200 million. I think just from a financial point of view, yeah, that's probably a lot cheaper than the damage to the economy. Well, it is a lot cheaper
100%.
than the damage to the economy that Canada would have suffered through tariffs. But it still is a wad of cash.
I'm just saying, as somebody from BC as well, I am not a fan of David Eby. And I think what he did with banning red state liquor, like the first night after announcement, it just makes him look like, it just makes you look bad. Like, it was not the right response. I totally understand his not wanting to take any crap stance or whatever, but he just went way too hard on Republican specific things. Like, you realize that there are a lot of Republicans that were telling Trump that this is not a good thing and that it will not benefit them. Like, senators and governors were speaking up for their red states, saying that this is not a good thing. So it's just a bad look. It was too early, but I want to know kind of what his response is going to be, because there was a bunch of signs out as of this morning. All U.S. liquor was taken off the shelves in BC, all BC liquor stores and stuff like that. So we best see that stuff go back on, man.
For measures. And what does 24/7 eyes on the border mean? Is that drones? Is that people? And it's a very long border. So
almost 9,000 kilometers long.
Yeah.
Thermal. We need a lot of thermal imaging. We need drones, and we just need patrols. Like, there needs to be patrols that move back and forth from point to point. And even if it's an automated drone that flies and just kind of captures, or radio, infrared, thermal, you name it, but that's going to be the way to do it. We need to have constant monitoring. And this is, if you can like put your bias aside of however you feel about immigration and all that type of stuff, the fact that there are portions of our border on both sides of the states, it's not just Canada, it's Canada and Mexico, there are places where there is literally nothing. It's just open land, and as far as you're concerned, you take one step and you're into the next country. Like, you have to admit that that is not a good thing. Problems can happen from that. So, you know, it's like I said, this is not a bad thing for Canada. It's great that we're finally investing in ourselves. It just sucks that we do it in a time where we're so economically stunned just because of the excessive spending that the Liberals have been doing over the past few years. But hey, at the end of the day, they're going to spend money regardless. And if they can agree to stop spending money on other things to start spending money on Canada, then I am all for it.
Yeah.
Yes, but it is interesting hearing about this. It does seem that there is a real concerted effort in this messaging to talk about cracking down on organized crime. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in Canada's previous efforts on that and dealing with money laundering and cartels and organized crime, but this does seem to be a renewed focus. We haven't really heard the Prime Minister talk about organized crime to this extent, at least to my ears.
At all, like ever. So, yeah, it's a huge swing. And like I said, as somebody who would support the Liberals, or people who were looking to not want to support the Liberals or want the Conservatives to win, this isn't a good thing for the Liberal Party, because coming into the leadership race, Trudeau has a really good opportunity here to essentially solve this tariff issue before anything were to happen. And that's part of the reason why Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, was talking to Trump, saying, hey, like, you need to kind of hold off and just wait for an election to happen, and that way you're negotiating with the people that are actually going to be in power. So,
You know, this is very important breaking news to a lot of Canadians, and I think they want to hear from the Prime Minister again. So I've just been told, can we do that again? I can do it, you can do it, Karina, but this is what the Prime Minister had to say online.
If we want to put it up again?
Yeah,
and
let's
then,
put it up.
Absolutely. So I'll paraphrase the first paragraph just because it's stuff that people already know. That obviously he reiterated the border plan that we've been talking about for weeks now, $1.3 billion, where we're going to get new choppers, there'll be drones, additional personnel, that there'll be even more coordination than already existed between our border staff and the U.S. border staff, increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. As I said, additional frontline personnel, 10,000 in this posting. Then, though, it goes on to talk about the new commitments, and this is
and this is just back to what we were already discussing. $1.3 billion border plan, fentanyl czar, technology, personnel, investments. Task force, a directive, or a U.S. and Canadian task force. Like, this is great. This is great news for us. If this was just another day and Trudeau was just making an announcement saying that this is something that we want to do as a government, do you know how much love that they would probably get for this decision? Like, an extreme amount. I mean, Canada is already plagued with a fentanyl crisis as it is. I mean, what was the last super lab? A super lab got closed down, and I think it was 93 million people could have died from the amount of fentanyl that they seized. That's more than double what Canada's population is. That's absolutely insane. So the fact that that was happening in our country and our government wasn't doing anything about it, you know, people are going to be really, really, really happy about this, regardless of what your political ideology is. Canada needed it, and I think our U.S. counterpart is going to be happy about it. I know the Conservatives are absolutely going to be happy about it. I wonder what Jagmeet has to say, but all in all, great stuff. I'll probably leave it here for that video. Had a lot of good things to say about that one, but yeah, I think the main thing here is that we're just going to see kind of Canada hopefully doing the same thing back, and really looking internal and into what the people are wanting. I mean, the polls over the last few months to the year have kind of spoken for themselves, right? Like, people weren't happy with the way things were being handled beforehand, and this is how we would see more I don't want to tie in common sense to it, just because, once again, I'm trying to stay nonpartisan and keep my political views out of it, but it seems like a common sense thing to do. This was the right thing to do. So right on, Justin Trudeau. This is the first time in a long time that I've given you props, but props where it's due, or to whoever made this kind of all come to fruition. But I think a lot of people can take a deep breath and at least chill out for the rest of the month. So anyways, if anything else extreme happens over the next little bit, I will I'll hop back on. But for now, thanks for tuning in again. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Follow me on TikTok. I have been doing quite well over there, actually. Trying to make some content. So at Hizzy Hustle. And yeah, follow me on Instagram at Tyler.Heisman, Heizmann. And yeah, see you on